Well, it looks like the new $20 bill is going to have Harriet Tubman on there. She was a former slave and abolitionist for the Union, Union spy actually too. But I want to present something else here because I'm going to drop a couple dimes on this Secretary Lou. This first off, you know, I'm not going to say the lady's bad or something. I'm not going to say that at all. But the thing is, they're changing the dollar bill for other reasons and also justifying their war of northern aggression. Besides that, indirectly at the same time. Um, Now, Harriet Tubman actually was a very fine lady, actually, who escaped from slavery. She worked with the Union to free slaves. She was an abolitionist. And actually, most people actually were abolitionists everywhere. But even if you get in the North, they always make it look like the North and the South. The South was racist and the North was like all for civil rights. That's bullshit because I can tell you right now, there's so many hypocritical white people in the North. I think there's probably less racism in the South than there is in the North. That's just how I look at it. Um, they always talk, even the abolitionists, not I'm talking about Harriet Tubman, but some of the other abolitionists at the time, they all were like, oh, we got to abolish slavery and this is terrible. But the thing is, there was like, how do you do it? How do you do it? There was like, if people had their whole livelihood or whatever, they sunk all their money into slaves or whatever, you know, first off, it would destroy the entire economy. And Wall Street in New York doesn't want that to happen. The white Wall Street people up in New York, they don't want that to happen. But I can tell you what I think the real reason they're trying to put Harriet Tubman on there is because of Andrew Jackson was the guy that successfully went against the central bank of the United States. He went against Nicholas Biddle and won. Well, he would have had a central bank in the USA a long time ago. It didn't happen till later on, till we got the Federal Reserve Act passed in 1913. That was a long, complicated story whereby they they split the vote with Taft by putting up Teddy Roosevelt on the Bull Moose Party, which he was the third party that got the most votes ever, and it wound up that the unknown Woodrow Wilson, who was basically a puppet being controlled by Colonel Mandel House, got in, and then later on, so he approved a bill for the um, Federal Reserve Act and also the Income Tax Act in 1913, which were passed. Well, the Income Tax Act actually was an amendment to the Constitution, but he actually approved the bill for the Federal Reserve Act. See, this is the one thing they hate about Andrew Jackson. It's not about slavery. Now, they're using that as a cover story because actually, if you look back at all the Washington, I think what it was, Jefferson, they had slaves too. Slavery was an institution that just existed at that time throughout the world. It existed in Africa, it existed in China, it existed in Europe, it existed everywhere. It was just how it was. Today they got the damn corporation with the freaking, it's sort of like a subtle slavery. You don't actually, yeah, well, you look at it like this. You get a subsistence wage, you rent property, you got connections to utilities, you got connections to communications, they got every freaking thing on you. You're tagged, you're bagged basically with your freaking social security number and everything else there is. And if you don't freaking keep running as fast as possible on the treadmill, you're out in the street, right? That's exactly what the hell it is. I mean, that is slavery today too. It's a little bit different. It's velvet glove slavery, but in some ways, I don't know. It's probably even worse. Who the hell knows? Because nobody actually knows exactly what happened back 150 years ago. Because I think it depended upon who the person was. But I also figure things are far more tempered by Christianity. Something being thrown out the window today. I mean, if we were staunch Christians today, they would never be able to label the personnel department in corporations, which used to be labeled the personnel department. They would not have been able to change it to human resources, like we're a freaking asset. That's exactly the way they considered slaves, assets. So they consider what? They consider the people that work in a corporation assets. Yeah, it's a little sweet way. It's sweet talk, velvet gloves, but it's more BS. They hate it. They hate Andrew Jackson. They want to put, and it's like when they're putting Harriet Tubman. I don't have nothing against her at all. I mean, but it's almost like They would not put Mother Teresa on here or something like that. But the reason is they are also justifying their war of northern aggression. I'll call it that because I'm not even going to call it the Civil War. I'm not even going to call it the war between the states because the South was paying the majority of the taxes, and when the Morrill tariff was reapplied, that's why they broke away. Abe Lincoln didn't have any problem with slavery at all. He kept slavery going in the northern states the whole damn time the Civil War was going. So I don't know what Harriet Tubman would have said about that with Abe Lincoln, because the power where he had the power, like in the state of Delaware, which was probably I think it was the last state to abolish slavery in 1868, where Senator Biden comes from. He's like Abe Lincoln didn't do anything about that, none at all. So, but I can also tell you there's other myths out there about George Washington. George Washington severely, suppressed the Whiskey Rebellion. The Whiskey Rebellion was, they were trying to collect taxes from the colonists, and the colonists didn't have money. It was like, how are we going to pay it? We don't have money. We got whiskey. We could pay in whiskey. No, we want money. We want gold and silver and coinage and all that. George Washington suppressed that. I mean, nobody's actually perfect up there, no matter who the hell it is. George Washington had slaves, so why don't you take him off the bill too, right? But then again, if you look back at the ancestry of Barack Obama himself, his ancestors were Muslim slave traders in Kenya. He's got no black lineage as far as USA black lineage. He's got Kenyan black lineage back to Muslim slave traders. And Barack Obama himself is totally at odds with, I call, the stellar, upright, moral character of the current Kenyan president. I'd rather have the current Kenyan president of our country, than Barack Obama. I can tell you that right now. I'm not too keen on his changing his bill. It's like I don't have nothing against, Harriet, Tubman. I have nothing against her, but it's like, why are they doing this? This is what I'm getting all bent out of shape. Why are they doing this? Why are they specifically hate Andrew Jackson more than anything? Because all these ones way back when had slaves. What do they really hate about Andrew Jackson the most? He's the guy that went against the central bank. He's the one that won against Nicholas Biddle. He stopped the central bank from taking root in this country for decades, for like 80 years. People knew about this for generations. They also knew about it in 1913, except the Federal Reserve Act was passed during the Christmas recess, when most of the people were gone out of Congress, and it was rubber stamped by Woodrow Wilson, the puppet president, managed by Colonel Mandel House. I'm going to tell you right now, I think actually this is all going to coincide with the collapse of the dollar. Who the hell knows? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It's very hard to say because the collapse of the dollar has been predicted how many times for the last 10 years? I don't know. Now, I also want to say something too, because else about this, and I wish I could find a reference. I tried to Google it. I know I read it. I wish I PDF'd it, because it seems like sometimes you can't find things on Google after a while, and I don't know why this didn't take root. Well, you remember about Christopher Stevens being killed in Benghazi, right? There was, and I'm doing this from memory, I'm not going to be able to give you a link. I remember seeing it, and I didn't hear the transcript itself, but it was supposedly in the hands of Fox News, and they were going to supposedly play it on, national TV, and it was going to blow out of the water Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Secretary of Treasury Lou. I don't know why the hell Secretary of Treasury Lou was involved in the conversation, but what that was said back then was that they were trying to set up a type of Muslim insurrection or revolt, and it was for political purposes. I don't know exactly what they were trying to do, what the exact goals were, but they said nobody would get hurt. They did not expect Christopher Stevens to get hurt. They were saying this in the conversation. It was about Benghazi. It was involving Secretary Lou. Now, I don't know. I didn't hear the transcript. I saw a reference to it on a something where they said they were going to have Fox News was going to actually play it. And I figured, well, we'll see, we'll see. They didn't first. They first they we're gonna have to we'll release it a little later. And I think I don't know how they got hold of the phone transcript or whatever, but it was basically with Hillary Clinton and Secretary of Treasury Lowe. Um, Now, I can tell you one thing. This was a real setup from day one. They were actually, the U.S. government was trying to arm rebels with clandestinely, rebels, quote unquote, in Libya, clandestinely. Actually, they're causing all the hate and discontent down there more than anything. I don't know. There's like underhanded policies going on behind the scenes with our government. And, that's what I have to tell you about, even when they're changing their money around like this. They are playing a psych op in a lot of ways on people because they'll make it look like Harriet Tubman is with civil rights and all that, but it's not exactly all about that. First off, um, they're justifying their war of northern aggression, which was all about centralized power. It was to hell with freaking the ability of states to break away because a specific part of the country, namely the South, was being taxed the majority of taxes, and the North was benefiting by the the reaping of those taxes or the raping of those taxes from the South. And they want to justify that war. It's like 2 years after the war started, more than 2 years after the war started, that was when Abe Lincoln did his Emancipation Proclamation, only freed the slaves in the South, didn't free any slaves in the North. But when they're putting Harriet Tubman on a bill, they're making it's like they're justifying the whole war of northern aggression at the same time. But I want to actually bring something else about Secretary Lowe, because he was supposedly, and I wish I heard the conversation itself. I wish they PDF'd the damn article too. But he supposedly was involved in a conversation with Hillary Clinton about Christopher Stevens, and that nobody was going to get hurt. That this was a planned, something was supposed to happen. But he was not supposed to get killed. He was not supposed to get killed. That was what I saw before. Supposedly, this transcript of this phone conversation is being held by Fox News. I'm like, I just can't. I tried to Google it for about 30 minutes, and I can't find it. I can't find it, but I know I read it. I know I read it. I'm a vociferous reader. I'm reading all the time on 2 or 3 computers all the time. And, I leave out 99.999% of stuff because a lot of stuff is rumor mongering. But I don't think that was rumor mongering, because I do realize that the deal with Christopher Story was a setup, and it was totally known what was going to happen by the administration before it happened. I'm talking about the administration Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Secretary of Treasury Lowe. Now, the thing is, one of the things they actually gave the real excuse for why that was going to happen was the Prophet Muhammad. And the movie The Prophet Muhammad was found to be offensive to Muslims. But what was interesting about that movie? When that movie was made, it was actually, they had a totally different verbal dialogue in the movie. The actors were actually saying something completely different in the movie. They didn't realize, and later the whole movie was dubbed in later by other actors with, the original actors' voices being wiped out. So the people that actually made the movie originally didn't even realize they were making a movie against Muhammad. But they used that as an excuse for the attack on Christopher's story. Which, incidentally, if you look at some of the dates, September, actually the attack on Benghazi started in September 11th, 2012. If you go back, it was on a Tuesday, I believe, which is another thing. It was like a day of war or something. It's Illuminati numbers, 911, right? If you go back, September 12th, you go back 11 years, you got September 11th, 2001, which is the attack on the Twin Towers. You go back 11 years again. Before that, September 11th, 1990, you got George Herbert Walker Bush making his speech about the New World Order, and we're going to have order in the world, not the law of the jungle, and all this kind of crap like that. That's what H.W. Bush was talking about. But I think there's a lot more to this. These guys are going to make it out like they're going to put Harriet Tubman on his bill, like because we're more enlightened now and all this kind of stuff. We're sensitive to civil liberties and civil rights. In the meantime, they're passing the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is actually going to take away jobs in the United States, despite what the hell they say. They already pushed for the freaking NAFTA, the North America Free Trade Agreement, which is actually killing jobs in the United States. They're also open, they're for open borders, which they'll say, oh, that's racism, you don't have open borders. But I think to myself, why is there a wall around the White House? Why do you have why not have open borders around the White House? Why don't everybody use the lawn on the White House like a freaking picnic table, right? You can come in there like a park, right? It's a waste of space in the middle of D.C., right? How come you don't let people just stay over, and there's plenty of room in the White House, right? Come on. I mean, freaking facetious is all hell. But that's part of the game that's going on with this because, yeah, I read her history. I got a lot of respect for this lady. I tell you the truth, I do. But it's almost like I could tell you I have a lot of respect for a lot of people though, too. And it's like I could take. Well, I look at it like this. I look at it like, how many people were even during the time in the war between the states or the war of northern aggression? How many people that were like heroes back then, or even unsung heroes, people that just got killed, and never even awarded anything. Loads of people. A lot of things happened during the Civil War, right? Or during the war between the states, war of northern aggression. But see, when they're honoring Harriet Tubman, they're justifying the war of northern aggression. The war of northern aggression was all about enforcing, because as soon as they passed the moral tariff, most of the freaking plantations in the South were already started going bankrupt. It was like done. It was like total bankruptcy, man. The tax rate was too damn high. The war wasn't over slavery. Abe Lincoln would have made slavery a permanent institution in the South. I mean, these guys are all full of it. And that's what gets me about. I'm not even saying like, the white people are good or something like that. What I'm saying is the northern white, armed for civil rights type people. I think they're worse than the freaking people in the South. The people South, they say people in the South are racist. I think the people in the North are far more racist. But man, they freaking play the act. And if you get up, the higher you go, up its chain of, where the money is, not saying that they're better people. But, the higher up you go along the chain of money or politics or get into Washington, D.C., all these cute talking asswipes, if I want to call it them, they are actually lying through their teeth about, what they care about people and all this kind of crap. Anybody in politics that passed or pushed for the Trans-Pacific Partnership or NAFTA or the Affordable Health Care Act, which is actually unaffordable, that is something that actually just pushes for to protect the insurance companies from going under. And I put something out about that before. The health insurance companies are going under, largely because not due to the high cost of health care. The doctors are overbilling and upcoding left and right. Where's the human rights involved in that? Hey, there's human rights are freaking everybody's getting screwed over with that shit, left and right. Everything's about money. But you see, when they're playing the civil rights angle, they're hiding what they're really about. I think they hate Andrew Jackson for a reason. Like I said, he's the only guy that was successfully Andrew Stonewall Jackson. He was the only guy that so successfully went against the money banksters, jackasses. And when you're looking at, well, I tell you the truth, I wish Harriet Tubman was alive today, because I tell you right now, she would probably see through all the bullshit that's going on right now, and she'd be wailing on freaking Obama himself and Secretary Lou and all that other bullshit. I can tell you that right now. I wish he was alive today. I do. Be quite honest with you, man. Because I realize like a lot of stuff these people talk about, like they're playing like they're for civil rights. They're not for civil rights. They're for money. They're for money. And when you're talking about, changing the name on a, well, you know what it is? They ought to take all of them off then. If it's all about slavery, you ought to take off George Washington. You ought to take off, they ought to take off Jefferson. Everybody, Adams, whatever, all of them. Get rid of them all, right? Benjamin Franklin, all, right? Throw them out the window. And that's exactly what they want to do. You know why? Because then you don't have despite the United States not actually um, being in reality exactly what it was supposed to be on paper, hey, at least a piece of paper still exists of what it's supposed to be, right? You can always point to, hey, everybody's an individual. Everybody's got, that's what Harriet Tubman was pointing to. Hey, everybody's an individual. Everybody's got rights. Everybody's got human rights. It's the fact that you got it written in the law of land. It's right there, right? But when you throw out all the stuff that the country was founded upon, oh well. Guess what? You make it wide open for what? The corporation. The corporation represented by, Hillary Clinton, um, somebody like, and the guy Andrew Jackson was totally against the corporation big time. But you got Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, owned by George Soros, right? And it's like, what are you going to do about it after that, right? What are you going to do about it after everything's, the coffin is nailed shut as to what the United States of America is about and its Constitution and the pillars of what America was formed about is done? What are you going to do about it then? So, yeah, I got a problem with this freaking, image actually on the $20 bill. Not that I don't know. I mean, I look at Ms. Harriet Tubman or whatever, Rosa Parks, whatever. I'm like, I don't think nothing bad about them or nothing. It's just like, I realize, why these freaking, these fake civil rights yo-yos up here with the speeches so worried about it? Because what they're really trying to do is undermine the whole pillar of foundations what the United States was created about in the first place. And I actually had to throw that thing in there about Christopher Stevens, because if you might find it, I can't find it anymore. I know it was there, but it actually involved a conversation between Lou, I put that, Secretary of Treasury Lou and Hillary Clinton about setting up Christopher Stevens for an attack against them in Benghazi, and that nobody was supposed to get hurt. But it was all for political purposes. Maybe you could find it. Because don't ask me for a link, because I already spent 30 minutes looking for it. I know I read it, though. Supposedly Fox News had these transcripts, and they were supposed to put them on their news station later on in August or something. It was like a couple years ago. And they never did, obviously, because they're a bunch of freaking in the hip pocket of the bad guys all the way, too. So, anyway, just want to put this out because don't buy into the bullshit. And actually, when I think I don't know, I tell you the truth, I don't know where the hell the USA is going, man. I mean, American money is just nothing but stupid paper. It's really what it's coming down to, man. I don't know what the hell it's even backed by. Right now, the system's still working, though. You walk into Wally World with a piece of paper and if it had Harriet Tubman on it or Andrew Jackson, it's still going to buy you something. But I don't know. It's kind of like, to me, it's a harbinger of things to come, whereby, I realize what's going on here. These are the evil bastards. And you know what? It's not just the Democrats, it's the Republicans, because you can see what's going on with the current election. They got the two populist candidates on the Republican side. You got, Trump, and on the Democrat side, the populist candidate is Bernie Sanders, and you can see they're being robbed of delegates left and right. Even though Trump is in number one still right now, but Bernie Sanders should have been number one, no doubt about it. But anyway, I just want to put my angle out on this, and it's not like I got a big voice on here, but it's like I got a voice. And I had to put this thing out about Secretary Lou, because I'm thinking, man, you weasel. You weasel, man. I swear, somebody's going to find it. I'll try to find a link after I post this. If I can find that link where they were referencing the audio tapes between Secretary Lou and Hillary Clinton, involved, and that were supposedly, released to Fox News, that they never played on a national news network, talking about setting up Christopher Stevens. And he was set up because that movie Muhammad was just an excuse to, blame the enrage on and stuff. mean, this whole thing is so bullshit because it's like, on one hand, we're talking about, celebrating Harriet Tubman, abolishing slavery, helping abolish slavery, and on the other hand, we got, Barack Obama bringing in the most radical Muslims clandestinely in the country to basically, I don't know what the hell is going to happen in the future here, man. Something, man. But if we were actually to follow the Sharia law, hey, you know what? Every single person in Washington D.C. would probably have some body part chopped off of them because they're all guilty, right? I mean, really. And at the same time, they're the ones pushing this shit. It's they got some kind. They're actually what they're doing is they're creating hate and dissent in the United States, and they're pushing both sides. You know, side A and side B to go against each other, so they can pass more laws about being more stringent on the population. Right? Usual game, right? Man, all these people are evil. All these people are evil, but I don't know. I really got miffed about them taking off Andrew Jackson. He might be on the back of the bill or some bullshit like that. But I'll tell you this, and I'll leave you this with this one thought. Where you might be able to make some money on this bullshit is these bills. I'm not sure if this would work out, but these bills with Andrew Jackson that are like currently in circulation do not have Harriet Tubman on them, in the future, maybe 20 years down the road or something, they might be worth quite a bit of money as collector items. They might be. I would figure that. So you might want to hoard some of them. So if they do this, you might find an economic opportunity involved here, whether you agree with it or not. The old Andrew Jackson bills are probably worth. I'm figuring it might take you 20 years or something, but they might be worth a lot of money in the future as collectible bills. There you go.